this hallway is, well, it's usually the very first thing that anybody sees. So for new members at MTN or new people, I think this hallway is really stunning for them. A lot of people sort of just stop and stare and look at all of the things that are represented on these walls. You know, I still find things in these paintings that are new that I've never noticed because some of them are so intricate and so detailed, or there are names of TV shows or TV stars on these walls, or like this mural right here with the blue and all of the clouds and the aliens and creatures. You know, diversity is something that we really like to, I guess you could say, not only embrace but promote at MTN. You know, not only diversity of the people on our channels, but also the stories they tell and the way that they tell them.
And be the artists that they see themselves as, and be the news reporters that they see themselves as, the creatives that they see themselves as. They have the opportunity to expound upon that with media and television media, regardless of what anyone under the sun says. It's the thing that the world has the most access to. It's slowly becoming the internet, but television is what you turn on and watch Scandal.
And it has really been a strong theme that unites people when they come in the hall and go, oh yeah, what's that? You know, I tell young kids, oh, this is colored bars, an old test pattern from ancient times. And but yeah, other people recognize the shows, Charlie's Angels, Futurama.
I have a particular emotional attachment to the mural right next to me here, which is the Futurama mural. It's one of the first things I noticed when I came here 3.5 years ago, and I immediately took a picture of it, put it on my Instagram, said my future workplace is so awesome, check this out, because Futurama happens to be one of my favorite shows.
Mia, your work has enlightened and impressed and enthralled people of all ages coming into MTN. I lead some of the orientations and walk people down the hall, and I make a mention that this hallway was a labor of love. Having
something there to kind of give the voice of creativity to the members and inspiring people to do good work. It just felt like, you know, I could do something to help. And so I did a Craigslist search and Mia was one of probably about 7 people who emailed me back and one of 3 people who I actually spoke with.
I think it's really, really marvelous, the work and the skill and the talent and the fact that the artist volunteered her time on these things is really impressive.
I would walk down the hall and I would come and I would see what new things she had done, and like just kind of be in awe sometimes about how she could be so convicted and not be making anything to do it.
As I hear, it was a span of 3 years' time of labor and love, and it has been a gift to everybody in the community.
I love these paintings. I think there's something that, however long they've been here, which honestly I don't know, I'm relatively new at MTN, but however long they've been here, I think they've really stuck in people's minds as a part of this place.
She inspired a change, and it's not to say that there wasn't something bigger happening to the overall community, but she was right in the middle. She was able to help us meld quite a few of the different communities that come into our space and give us a reason to be with each other that was more social.
What we're gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
And it just sounded like, I don't know, it called to me, because let me tell you, it was a large task to consider I'm getting ready for an art exhibit in October. So I had to decide, do I want that art exhibit really bad, or can I pass on it and do this? And something my gut told me to do this one. So it's kind of crazy, but I do what my heart tells me to do, I guess. About the last week, I've been going to the bookstores and checking out other artists and getting ideas, and so it's been exciting. It's been fun. I've been researching other artists and trying to find out what can I do that'll be easy and simple but yet complex and look good. So I'm going to do like a collage of things. It'll be kind of done in a Picasso Cubism type style. So there'll be a lot of color and shapes, as well as pictures of cameramen or people maybe maybe they might be watching television. I'm going to mix in the collage vintage television ads, and there'll be television sets everywhere, added into these designs. And I know it's just exciting having it all come together for me. Yeah, the creative side's like, yay. The rational side's going, do you know how much work that is? I don't know. I don't see it as work. Basically, the checkers and the dots are from a pattern book that I picked out. And in these little squares, once I get them all cleaned up and stuff, they will have either vintage television sets or some piece of television history inside each one. Well, this was basically inspired by Salvador Dali, which I started out with the elephants, which he was pretty famous for doing elephants with really long legs. He's also pretty well known for drawing like bodies, especially female bodies that had little drawers on them and stuff. And then down here was kind of inspired by this style of Hieronymus Bosch, and I kind of wanted to do this, a scene down here, especially with like people, to give the height to the legs, so that people would definitely know that those elephants are, you know, kind of in the cloud lines, in the skyline. So, and then Salvador Dali was also, he was known for doing something called melting watches, which these watches were kind of melting off of like a box type shape. And so then I just did it with a television set. Well, when I was a kid, my parents had these friends, and their kids had like everything, a pool and cars and pinball machine, and the daughter had this whole collection of Dr. Seuss books. And so whenever I went over there to visit with my parents and she wasn't home, I'd be like scamming on all her books and reading them from cover to cover and putting my grubby paws all over them, and I know I just love Dr. Seuss.
I like the lights, the action, the colors, the history.
I just think it expresses MTN's spirit quite a bit. It's quite colorful, and I notice we have lights, camera, and action jumping out of the video monitor. So my name is Beth Brody, and I've been a producer here for a few years. Taken some of the classes and in video production and editing and graphics. And it's just a wonderful place to meet people and collaborate.
And it just feels like it's time for us to start supporting the thing that supports our creativity. And I hope that people are learning this by a time that they helped make, because everybody who paid for a ticket is going to make it possible for us to enjoy ourselves in these kinds of ways more often, and do things as a community together. Community of people who are producing actual documentations of time.
And after that, you started moving on to the next walls and edit rooms.
This room is Mars. It's our editing suite Mars. All of our editing suites are named after planets. And as you can see, the very, very detailed and intricate murals that are in this room all relate in one way or another to that theme of science fiction, and particularly to that theme of Mars. We have scenes from movies, TV shows, books that all relate to or take place on Mars. And you can see in this room, this is the one that really stuns people because the level of intricacy involved in some of these pieces. Super, super fine detail, really expansive scenes. This room is also really interesting because this is the room that Mia was working on when she had to stop. And so there are actually pieces in this room that are sort of perpetually incomplete and in progress. And I think juxtaposing those unfinished images to the amount of detail that exists in the rest of the room really speaks to how much energy and effort and time and commitment and passion that Mia had for this project. You know, it shows you how she planned and you know, how she had this theme planned from the get-go, and you know, she didn't rush through this job. She, you know, really took time to make these details and to make these intricate mosaic pieces with mirror and glass and stuff like that. You know, these are really personal pieces, and I think you can really get a sense of who Mia was and what her interests and passions at the time were, and sort of the various art styles that she liked to use. There's definitely a lot of variation in this room and across MTN. That's very cool to look at.
Wow, did I do that? You know, it's just, I don't know if you ever experienced that with like your music and stuff, but it's like,
all the time.
it's kind of a rush, you know, to look at this and go, wow, you know, and I had no idea that it would even turn out like this. So that's a rush in itself. I don't know.
I always had this wish that when we moved into a space that was our own, where we were gonna, you know, have full entitlement on what went on the walls and everything, that we would take the hall pieces, because they're, you know, it's you can cut it out. It's just sheetrock, and have it installed on one of the walls of our space that belonged to us. That was always one of the things that I wish that we could do.
Hope we can salvage some of this in the while we move and cherish all this. But this video is a great tribute to you as well.
You know, where we're going is obviously going to be a very different space in a brand new building, and that will mean a lot of changes. So I think one thing that I'd like to see is some way to acknowledge this work and keep it with us after that transition. You know, obviously the landlord who's in control of this space is not interested in us ripping out all of these marvelous walls. You know, that's not something that we're able or allowed to do legally. So I think if we can find some way to preserve these images, whether through video, photography, some media form, to keep these images with us as we go into our next chapter and our next space, I think that would be marvelous.
It's something that people should come down and at least take a look at before MTN moves. Just behold it. It might not be necessarily your thing, but it's passion. It's real, dedicated, loving passion all over the walls.
I think when MTN moves to Northeast Minneapolis, they should take the walls with them. Everything. If the place falls down structurally, that's okay. But we need the walls. Look at, you know, the artists spend a lot of time painting these walls. I have nothing else to say about that.
That's very good.
Okay.
Just drop the mic. Sexual chocolate. Boom.
From everybody at MTN, thank you, Mia, for adding your talent and your passion to MTN through your artwork.